How's everyone? My name is Jake, and this is the first episode of Mod Diaries. Mod Diaries is going to be sort of a build vlog style video series where in each video we're going to go over a project that I'm working on, work on it a little, get some progress done, and who knows, maybe even finish one. 12% gain, where you at? And in this, the first ever episode of Mod Diaries, we're going to be going over one of my favorite blasters. That is the Busby Toys DOUBLESHOT. The Busby DOUBLESHOT, a break action, shell fed, double barrel shotgun. With a 2-stage trigger and, the best part, shell ejection. I have a lot of favorite blasters, a laundry list of favorite blasters, and I'm adding to that list pretty much every day. I manage to find something new that I just absolutely adore. But the DOUBLESHOT has always managed to stay at the tippy top of that list. Now, if you remember, this isn't the first time that we've dived into the DOUBLESHOT. I actually have a video I made previously where I claimed that everyone should own a DOUBLESHOT, and I do still agree with that point. I think that everyone should own a DOUBLESHOT, or at least get the chance to play with it once. If you get the chance, just once, to touch and play with this blaster, you have to take that opportunity. I also want to thank you guys because that currently is my most viewed video with 23,000 views. I really don't like playing the numbers game when it comes to YouTube, but for so many people to view a DOUBLESHOT video that I made in 2024, or was it 2023 when I made it? I don't remember. But it's incredible. So thank you guys so much, and because I didn't say in the last video, thank you guys for 2 years of the Foam Battalion. July 27th, I believe it was, we had our 2nd year anniversary, and I missed it like a schmuck. So thank you guys for 2 years of Foam Battalion, and I am really sorry that I missed it. But at one point, Busby did also have a more traditional side-by-side DOUBLESHOT. My hope is that one day I can run one of these as a secondary in a war by putting it in like a shotgun scabbard on my back, so that when my primary runs out, I can drop it, switch to this, and just boom, boom. Oh my god, this thing is so cool. I love the DOUBLESHOT so much. In case you weren't already aware. It seriously amazes me that after 19 years, as much of a nugget as this thing is, it's still around. It's still kicking. You can still go to a store and, if you're lucky, possibly find one and pick one up. This is a 19-year-old blaster. This blaster just graduated high school about a year ago, and you don't even need to thrift it in order to get one. You can go to a store and buy it for maybe $10. And this year in 2024, they supposedly made a new one. Pictured here is the AccuBlast DOUBLESHOT, which comes included with the new Busby AccuBlast darts. And I know it's the exact same one as this, just with a different color scheme, but I need it. I really do need it. I am sick and I have a problem. I need it. But for whatever reason, you just can't get it anymore. It's there on Amazon, but you can't buy it anymore. It is unavailable. So if any of you have picked one up, or if you know where I could possibly get one, please let me know, because I have issues. But enough gushing and enough small talk. Let's get into what this video is really about. This is the Micro DOUBLESHOT. It is, as the name suggests, the smallest that you could possibly get a over-under DOUBLESHOT down to. And I just love it.
The smallest you can think of.
And while I refer to this as the Micro DOUBLESHOT, it does have a couple of nicknames. Baby's First DOUBLESHOT, the cutest DOUBLESHOT you've ever seen, Bubba's Christmas Wish, whatever it is, this is the Micro DOUBLESHOT, and it is, as the name implies, really fucking small.
You're so tiny!
I also would quickly just like to mention that while I do love this blaster, I love the DOUBLESHOT, and I do have an appreciation for how intricate the shell ejection mechanism is, it is an absolute nightmare to work when you got 2 ham hocks at the end of your arms. I mean, they're so microscopic, these parts inside the shell ejection mechanism. I would not recommend it to anyone unless you just absolutely adore the DOUBLESHOT like I do. But really quickly, if we can just do a size comparison, bring out the mommy DOUBLESHOT. Yeah, this is a considerable amount smaller than its counterpart. In fact, with my tape measure here, we can get some concrete numbers. We just put that here. Get you your numbers for you. Put that there, and yeah, this is about, from tip to butt, 15.5 inches. While a full-size DOUBLESHOT comes in at 26.5. I want to yell down in the comments, do the math for me and tell me exactly what percent smaller the micro double shot is compared to the full size one. But yeah, I mean, even just looking, you can clearly tell this is so much smaller. I would say maybe even close to half the size of a full size one. I'm even gonna go on record right now and say that this is the absolute smallest double shot mod ever, period. At least in regards to the over-under, because I know that Vile made a teeny tiny, puny side-by-side one. It really is just absolutely small. I'll try to see if I can get a picture from him about just how tiny it is. It's really small, but that's side-by-side. This is over-under. And while maintaining the actual look and function of a double shot, this has to be the smallest double shot over-under mod ever. I mean, you'd be hard-pressed to find one smaller than this. And if there is one smaller than this, I need you guys to tell me, because I want to see it and I want to see if somehow, some way I could possibly beat it. Aside from just ripping out the internals, I really don't know how you could possibly get it any smaller. And now we're going to go over the tools I've used so far while building this thing. First, we have a handsaw, a number 2 screwdriver, hobby snips, needle nose pliers, a hand file. This one I used has a rounded side and a flat side, but really any hand file you probably can get will work. A Dremel tool with a cutoff wheel, and I also used a sanding bit. I can't seem to find mine right now though, but that is something that I did use. And Jolt King's favorite meal, some hot glue. Now let's talk about the concept and the ideas that went into what you see before you. So the goal was to make a double shot as small as possible while still keeping the form factor. So I couldn't just rip the internals out of here and do something else with them. I wanted to keep the look, the function, and overall as much of the shell as I could while still keeping it nice and compact. Originally though, this was going to be an arm-mounted blaster. I even went so far as to make schematics for the arm-mounted double shot, and they're a little outdated now, but I do think that an arm-mounted double shot could still be possible. The roadblock I kept going into was how exactly I was going to mount the entire blaster onto an arm. I didn't quite understand how I was going to do that. It could still be possible though. I need some fresh ideas. So if you guys have any idea about how this could be arm mounted without ripping out the internals and keeping the shell ejection break action hole doohickey, leave some suggestions in the comments on how I could do that. I'm gonna go over the specifics on exactly how much I cut, where I cut, and why in a little bit. But first I want to go over this blaster is still string primed. It's a straight pull. This is something that people do a lot of the times because typically you prime it by actually pulling the blaster down when you go to reload it. But if you take the string and just route it out the back and put a keyring, you can very easily just pull it. And yes, even in this state, this thing does work. I know that there are ways to make it a direct prime instead of a string pull, like Jolt King did on his Walking Dead double shot, but something about the keyring and this pull I just really love. I love it. And now if you look towards the front, you can see this line of Sharpie here, and that's because I actually originally was going to cut here. This thing was going to be even smaller, but it's because of these two screw points here that I figured it probably was best to just cut in front of them instead of cut behind them, because I feel like I would lose whatever rigidity I may have or whatever stability I may have if those two go missing. So I think that was definitely the best idea. But just note, the micro double shot could have in some world have been even more micro. And as for performance upgrades, there are none. There's no spring upgrade, no AR removals because the AR is built into the shell anyway. There's no seal improvements, and personally I think that these are unnecessary for a blaster that for one is not meant for serious gameplay. Plus, those sort of upgrades are only just going to lessen the overall life that this blaster is going to have. And in case you missed what I said, yes, the actual air restrictor is built into the original Busby shells that this blaster takes. However, thanks to Shaz, we have some 3D printed shells which do not have a dart post and do not have any air restrictor. So these things work way better, and on top of that, these shells can take short darts. So inherently, with short darts and no air restrictor and a 3D printed shell, that on its own is a performance upgrade. Also, Vile, Deadman, Xbox, one of you guys, please get to working on an N1 shell for the double shot. N1 darts are basically the new meta at this point, and I want to see what they would do coming out of a double shot. That would just be real goofy, and I live for that sort of thing. So, please, for me. But now that we've gone over this blaster's backstory, you've seen that it does work, and we talked about these shells. I said we load some of these shells up, take it on the range, and see how well it does plinking. Let's go have some fun. We are on the range, got the target set up, and no, this is not a different day. I just changed my shirt and came outside. But anyway, for this range test, we are going to be using the intended short dart 3D printed shell combination. I have 12 rounds. We're just going to be reloading from the pocket. Let's see what we can hit. Ejects shells beautifully, and I paid extra attention to make sure that that mechanism stays perfectly intact. Use that two-stage trigger. Oop. Had a problem with that one ejecting. Last couple of rounds. There we go. So as you can see, nothing too special. It's a stock double shot. It's not going to win you any tournaments, but it's a double shot, and so it's really fun. It's a great blaster. Tons of fun. You got the shell ejection. You got the rear prime here with the string, which I will say, the added string pull instead of the break action prime does enhance the reload a little bit. I definitely wouldn't say it's trash. This is definitely something that's usable. Decent range with multiple shots. Yeah, in close quarters, this thing would actually be very useful. I also considered firing some full-length darts out of this thing today because, you know, I still use full-length darts and a lot of people don't. I love them. I think they're always going to have a place in the hobby. But I would run this with just short darts. I would not be using this with full-length darts. If you guys are interested, though, in the next build vlog where we cover an update on this, I could include some full-length firing footage if you guys want. That's enough for me. Back inside. And we're back. Now we can go over a few more details. Bring Mama Double Shot back out here for a second, and we can go over some exact measurements of how much I cut and where I cut. Starting with the back, here we cut off exactly 2 3/4 inches, and that was done by sawing off this shell storage area, and then this section here right behind this weird hump in the grip, I cut right behind that, straight across. I cut straight across here, right before this screw point. So this section of plastic gone, and then as you can see here, I hot glued it back into place. So this thing does actually have a back end cap. I then took a drill to the back to make space for the string to come through. Now the front, the barrel was cut by 8.5 inches or 10 inches if you include the muzzle, and the handguard underneath was cut off by 3.5 inches. And you'll note the muzzle is also held in place with hot glue. And believe me, there is still a surprising amount of work that needs to be done. To talk about the handguard some more, if you notice, and if you look really closely, there is a slight angle here that I had to trim away because there was some excess plastic. So I trimmed away, so now it has this sort of curve to it now, but it's open face, which I don't quite like. So I've come up with some ways on how I can do that, primarily acrylic plating. I could just glue in or build up some acrylic in there and that'll cover it up. I wanted to try using a piece of a shell that I have in my scrap bin, but I haven't found anything that fits. I might look again and hopefully go down that route. And you probably had no idea, but this thing actually does have a bit of a problem with the brake action. You wouldn't know because, well, it opens just the way it should. You pull this, and it falls. What's the issue? Well, there is no screw in the hinge point. There is currently no screw in here. And if I put the screw in, it won't fall because that hinge will be too tight and there's not enough weight at the front to actually carry it down. And while it works just fine, it falls without, little to any, force. I do question the rigidity and stability that this hinge has. So to solve that, I do have a couple of ideas. First, we leave it alone. We could just do nothing. We could just leave it alone. I mean, it's working just fine. Why break something that ain't fixed? You know what I mean? Shut up, I know what I said. But anyway, the other idea is that I could somehow fashion a takedown pin that locks into place, and that could be removed, just twist, pull, insert, twist, locks into place. And then the other idea I had is that I could just entirely replace this screw point with a brass or aluminum tube, so it has that sitting in there that the hinge point sits on. I don't know how to do that without making it permanent and attaching it to either side of the shell, so this thing couldn't be opened anymore for whatever reason I may need to. So I'm not too keen on that one. But there is one more, and that is by using a technique that Vile taught me, which is I could use what's called smooth cast, which is a sort of two-part powder that becomes a liquid that will flow all throughout the shell. It'll harden, and it'll add some rigidity to the plastic. It'll make it a little heavier as well, and if I throw metal BBs into it, that'll also add some weight. So I could weight it, put the screw in, and hopefully it weighs enough to where I can just do this and it'll still simply fall. And speaking of smooth cast, I might just smooth cast the whole thing because Busby plastic, well, I do love Busby blasters, they're not made of the best plastic. It's a little brittle, and it's just a little dubious, as some people may say. So yeah, I might just smooth cast the entire shell. And now lastly, we go into DevCon work. I need some DevCon, and I gotta permanently attach all these pieces that are held in place with hot glue. This hot glue is not permanent. This was just so I can tack the pieces into place and get a good idea about what the finished silhouette of the blaster will look like, and I absolutely love it. Now that I know that, I gotta actually work on making it, actually not just hot glue globbed on in mass. And because the parts are tacked together, I can open the blaster up, and from the inside of the shell, I can apply the DevCon, and that'll create a bond between the two parts. And DevCon is really strong, it'll bond the parts really well. And then once that's done, it dries up, I can dissolve this with alcohol. So no more hot glue, just DevCon. But on the topic of this hot glue, let's talk about the aesthetics of the Micro Double Shot. Now, for lovers of jank, this is already done. I mean, it doesn't look horrible, it's just, it's just some hot glue, And it does work, so, what's the fault in that? Just keep it like this. I could, but I want it to be nice and pretty. So that's why the hot glue's gotta go, and I gotta use DevCon, and I gotta seal it and make it all nice and smooth with Milliput. And I will probably end up painting this blaster in that scenario. And while a custom paint job would be nice, I think it's also just funny if I try to keep it as true to the one I'm basing it off of as possible. I would like to somehow add this bright green color back in somewhere. I'm not exactly sure how, but I think that would also be pretty cool to do. Another idea I entertained for a while was doing an N-Strike yellow sort of colorway, but then it felt a little too similar to the old school yellow versions of the Double Shot, and I just wasn't very happy with that. So yeah. But now with all that covered, I think we finally reached the end of the video. So if you guys like this video, make sure to leave a like, and make sure to subscribe if you want to see more content like this, and make sure to hit the bell notification so you'll be notified when I make more content, and doing so does encourage me to make more content. Let me know what you guys think of Baby's first Double Shot down in the comments below, and let me know what you thought of this, our first episode of Mod Diaries part 1 to the micro double shot build. I'll include some links to the tools I use for this and whatever else in the description below, so make sure to check that out if you want. And I'll see you guys next time.